Ah.
Okay, we've got the red light.
So we give it about 5 seconds. Hello, everyone. I think we're here. I think we're live. I have no idea, but welcome. It's just gone 6 o'clock here in the UK, and it's all different times around the rest of the world, wherever you might be. But for some strange reason, we've ended up here doing Forcefest. My name is Dave. I'd like to introduce Martin. Hello, Martin.
Hello, I'm Martin.
And we are here today to talk to you as part of Forcefest, all about the celebration of Empire Strikes Back related toys for the 40th anniversary. If you haven't gathered yet, and that's why I'm wearing my hat, it is the 40th anniversary of the Empire Strikes Back. Now, I'm far too young to remember Empire Strikes Back first time around, so it's really good to have merchandise that's been produced to celebrate the 40th anniversary. If this is the first time you've joined us on a panel, you can actually donate and raising funds for Make-A-Wish Foundation. I don't know how this is appearing. I don't know if it's like a link below, if it's to the side, up above, or anything like that. But you can. It's somewhere here. But you can click to donate to Make-A-Wish. So the amazing team behind Forcefest have done an incredible amount of work. If you've enjoyed this in form, please donate, and donate as little or as much as you can. I would say when you pay peanuts, you get monkeys, but when you pay nothing, you end up with me and Martin. So I hope that the next hour is entertaining for you. But we are going to be talking about, as I mentioned, the celebrating 40 years of the Empire Strikes Back with the current toys. Now, this is not a look back at all of the stuff that we've had before. This is looking at what you can get right now. Yeah, what is in stores, what is online, websites. Some of us are still in lockdown, so we have like limited choices. But this is the stuff that is available to celebrate the 40th anniversary. Now, I'm an original trilogy guy. I'm like literally stuck in the Middle Ages. Middle Ages? Well, I guess like, the medieval times. So I really know not a lot about new toys. That's why Martin's here. Martin is the expert. Martin, to give people a bit of background, what sort of things are you into?
Yeah, so I am old enough to remember The Empire Strikes Back. And I'm also old enough to get all the vintage stuff. A lot of that's my childhood collection, you can see there. But actually, I'm a real collector of the modern Hasbro stuff. Not so much the vintage collection, but actually the Black Series and some of the other things they do around that take my fancy. So one of the things we've looked at this year is when we look on all the forums is there's a lot of people sort of constantly saying, I wish they would give us more product. And I don't think people ever realise how much comes out. And for Empire 40, they've certainly not been shy about giving us some nostalgic stuff, which I think is very much for the collectors. And I thought that's what we would go through today.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair to say I'm always glass half full rather than half empty. But I genuinely do not believe we've actually had it this good before for celebrating a particular anniversary of any of the Star Wars films. I mean, I think what Hasbro in particular have produced for this year knocks the socks off the 40th anniversary for Star Wars. It's absolutely brilliant. So without further ado, where are we going to start, Martin?
Yeah, so the good news for everyone is I'm going to get rid of my face and I'm going to bring up some pictures and we're going to start with the retro collection. So Dave, if you feel for time while I work out the technical buttons.
So the retro collection, for anybody who's not familiar with this, is giving fans the chance to get products that was very similar to the original releases from like back in 1980 to like 83. So these are reproductions of the 3 3/4 inch Kenner figures reissued by Hasbro on a complementing card that mimics exactly how you would have got it back in the stores 40 odd years ago. We're looking at Yoda here.
Yeah. And I think probably to kick off, Dave, I see you've got the original there. We'll do a little comparison in a minute. But most of you will know, if you're into collecting, that they actually did the retro figures for the 40th anniversary of A New Hope, or Star Wars as it was then. And I think, talking to the guys at Hasbro at conventions, that they were pleasantly surprised at how well received they were. Because I know there was a lot of anxiety amongst vintage collectors about, is this official reproduction and the like, which we're probably not going to talk about because it's so controversial. But actually, once they went out on shelves, I think people embraced them, Dave, don't you?
Yeah, I mean the anxiety there was well founded. Because a lot of when it comes to like the vintage toys, the prices that they reach on the secondary market, and by that I mean when you're not going into a toy store to buy them, some of these things have attained like phenomenal values. So people were worried about what the impact of that is. Now these things have been out for over a year now, because you've already had the Star Wars issued one. It hasn't really affected things, and I think most people and collectors who have seen them are able to tell the difference. And then also equally, it acts as a stepping stone, as a gateway into picking up these things. Like, oh wow, this is like the ones that I used to have as a kid, then collecting those, and then going back into vintage style collecting. So I don't really see it as a bad thing anymore. I was one of those people concerned though.
Yeah. So they've brought out 6 figures for the retro, but we're showing Yoda there. And Dave, you've got an original Yoda carded that I saw you waving around there.
Yes. So you can kind of see, I mean, for those who are like me, too young to remember the original release of the figures, you had various different packaging variations all throughout the line. So sometimes they had like sticker offers on there. This one is all the things I've got to show are regional to the European area rather than to the United States. So you would normally have like Kenner written down there. But yeah, it looks very, very similar. And it's who are these marketed to? Are they marketed to kids, or are they marketed to the dads?
I
adults?
think this is nostalgia through and through. And I think Hasbro have probably got it right, because these aren't out in abundance. But interestingly, they've made it into the supermarkets over here in the UK, which is quite rare now for Star Wars. But I think they also know that on the Friday night big shop, if you see these on the shelves as a dad, they might accidentally get their way into the cheese and the bacon that you.
Oh yeah.
Thanks for the tip, Dora, by the way, and good to see you on here, Dora, as well. Enjoyed your panel. Yeah, so I'll flick through because they've released Yoda. Oh, and should I also say, this is a bizarre detail that fascinates me. One of the complaints about the original retro series was, you can see Hasbro have done fake weathering around the packaging. And there was a complaint that each of the figures had the same weathering. So for the Empire, you've got different weathering. Now, hopefully it's unique to each figure. Otherwise, we've got infinite variants that people will get into. But
could you imagine that? That would be horrific.
But at least they've taken it on board, and you've got different aging on each of the things. So we've got Yoda here, and then you've got Hoth Leia. There's an original. Yeah, look at that. And then you've got Hoth Han.
There we go.
Which I'm reliably informed does still allow his blaster to go into his holster.
Which I never realised until in the last few years. That's something I never ever picked up on.
I know. Then we got Lando.
Oh, the different one here.
I was going to say, wasn't there different variants of the original Lando as well, though, Dave?
Yeah, so I don't know if this is going to appear on the camera too well. You can see here, my chap is smiling. They painted his eyeballs and his teeth to give him a smiley appearance, whereas on the image on Martin's screen, he doesn't have that. So it was just a running change variation that they did from time to time with the figures.
Cool. Okay, and then we've got Luke Bespin.
Now this one you could have a variation because they did change the image a couple of times.
Yeah.
Because they thought that the one that they're using here, so that'd be quite a cool one.
Sorry to hear that, Dora, by the way. Yeah, so you've got the Luke Bespin. Did he have different hair variants as well, the actual figure?
Yeah, so he started off with yellow hair and then had brown hair, which bear with caller.
Oh, I shouldn't have sent Dave down the variant route. He's going to come back with 50 different figures now. I hope everyone's enjoying the My Little Pony collection as well.
Yes, yeah, there's a lot of My Little Ponies here. All the good collection displays have names. So you have Rancho Obi-Wan with Steve Sansweet. You have the Boba Cabana with Gus Lopez. This I like to call the Glue Factory. So there we go. Anyway, here we go. This is one of those changes. So they changed the photograph, but again, I don't know if you can see there on the image. He has brown hair, and they did like an orange hair. So if you can see, I'm doing this the reverse way around. They changed the not just the image, but the actual action figure as well. Running changes.
I thought when you brought, it's ironic, as you brought out the brown-haired version of Luke Bespin, Mr. Mulcaster's joined us.
Oh,
it was our very own brown-haired variant on Luke.
he is indeed.
Right, and then last but not least, the one that everyone buys, Boba Fett.
There we go. So,
did you pay £10 for that, Dave?
Strange story on this one. I found it in my mum and dad's loft.
Oh, the famous loft find, was it?
Oh dear. But yeah, if they didn't include Boba Fett within this choice of figures, I think there would have been a bit of trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, is there any glaring omissions there, do you think, Martin, from what you have with the vintage toys?
No, I think they've chosen a good selection there. Actually, I'm pleased they've got they've always had Leia in as well, because I always think with all the characters you've got going there, it's easy to oversight on Leia. I'm pleased they got here. They were always going to go for Boba Fett. You'll see a trend with a lot of the things they produced about Boba Fett. What I do like what they're doing, which is I'm going to move on, Dave, because they did this sort of as a test, I think, for A New Hope, but introducing new vintage figures. Now, we had Tarkin before, and if I was a betting man amongst the collectors, I would say there's an awful lot of unused, empty Escape from the Death Star games floating around where people have gone specifically to get the Tarkin figure.
Yeah, just
the trick with a Snowspeeder Luke.
It's a good way to upsell. And is a good way, or possibly the only way you'll sell those products is by packing in an incentive. This one, for me, is a bit of a gripe, though. It's so cool in the sense of it's not another reproduction figure, and I like the idea that it goes down, but like I there's just elements of it that just don't work for me. And it's his boots and his goggles and things like that. I don't know. It's cool though. I mean, I say let's do this on the prequel and the sequel characters. Forget the original trilogy. Let's do 5 point. Retro styled 5-point articulation. Prequel and sequel characters.
Well, so I think this is again, this is just opinion piece, but I think as I said, they've been pleasantly surprised by how the retro collection's been received. I think the designing of figures from other films is a real plus point for the designers at Hasbro. So when you talk to them again, if you get a chance, talk to them at the conventions when they restart, and you'll get to see what their passions are. And nearly all of them refer back to vintage. So I think as time goes on, you're going to see Hasbro branch out more into the other films that didn't have vintage, because I think the designers like doing it.
Well, you could easily get away with Rogue One
Yeah.
figures, because like there you could literally use that product and then repaint him as the British hello, like where do you think you're going? The guy who was like in the grey suit, flight suit. I can't remember his character name, but he was kind of oh hello, the Biggles kind of character. Repaint him as that dude. That'd be cool. I'll buy that.
And Michael's commenting that his favourite toys are from the Empire Strikes Back Hoth Winter scene, obviously inspired by your Hoth Rebel hat, Dave.
Yes, yeah. A quick shout out to Retro Revival Props. A very talented man has made this, and he makes many other props. So he does all like the Endor helmets and that. If you haven't checked him out, he's on Etsy, or if you're on Facebook, Retro Revival Props. I thoroughly recommend. I love this thing. Absolutely amazing.
It's the middle of summer and you're still wearing it. Well done.
Yeah.
So that kind of finished it for the retro. Now, one of the things I'm going to be doing as I keep along with this is I'm keeping a tab of how many figures have been released for the Empire 40th anniversary, and a rough estimate of the cost if you'd bought one of each. Because if anyone's like me, you don't really realise how much you're spending if you get into all of this. So far, we're at 7 products, and we've just spent roughly about £80 or $80, depending on where you live. So all nice and affordable, he says.
$80 well spent.
Yeah. Trevor's asking about Lego. I don't think we're going to be talking about Lego because we're lucky to get through all the Hasbro stuff.
Yeah, we're going to keep it very specific to Hasbro on this one.
Yeah. You'll see why as we start. Great link as we start into the Black Series, which is, I think, the current premium line for Hasbro with Star Wars, based on the output and the amount of stuff they're putting out that's Black Series. I think those who are Black Series collectors have been spoilt this year with the Empire 40 range and all the other stuff. So I'm going to start with a figure that actually came out in 2019, which was the Kenner Boba Fett. That was a convention exclusive. I think a lot of people think it was San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, but actually it was in a number of conventions, certainly European ones. And at the time was as long as you knew what you were doing, it was quite easy to get. Once they sold out,
you knew what you were doing.
Yeah. The value of this figure has rocketed. And I had a look last night. If you want to pick one up off of eBay, they're currently selling at about £150 for a $25 figure or $26 figure.
Yikes!
But they've really tapped into it all there with the Black Series. Looks like the Kenner original. Everyone loves the packaging.
It's all right.
Well done, Hasbro. And I did actually think it was quite a nice touch that they brought it out in advance of the Empire Strikes Back range, pretty much like the original figure.
Yeah, that was your first sneak peek, so I'm told, back in the day, of what is to come with the new film. So like Boba Fett being a mail away figure, very well documented. It was advertised with the rocket firing mechanism that then had to be switched out for child safety standards, but was effectively the first figure that was commercially available or widely available through a direct-to-consumer promotion with your first character, and then appeared in the holiday special, and the rest is history.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just quickly looking at the messages there. Yes, Michael, I agree. And a nice mould for them to use, I would say, as well. So if I then move on, they announced that there was the first wave of the Empire Strikes Back version of the Black Series figures. Now, all of these, Dave, if I'm right, were vintage originally. So the card backs look right to me.
Yes, to a degree, although, I mean, where we talked about the retro collection and there was apprehension over, could there be any confusion on those products being confused with the vintage equivalents. You would have thought that the same would have then been done for this, with the exception of there is no stress marking around the cards. You got the 40th anniversary sticker logo. But
Yeah.
also, there's been a bit of jiggery pokery going on, particularly with like Luke Bespin. He has a new photoshopped sort of face in there. Now, the original image that was used is very grainy, and that might have been one of the reasons why they did the change, where I mentioned earlier, from this one to this one, which is more of a dynamic, brighter looking shot. But they've done a sort of Photoshop job on the Luke Bespin there, and I don't know, you're opening yourself up straight away for scrutiny on that one. It's different, I guess.
Is it the Molecaster look?
It is. Well, there you go. There's reason enough to buy it, because it's modelled after Mark.
Yeah, but this was I think a pretty good solid first wave. Lots of figures that had, well, you could get them all already, and in fact, I think the Hoth Leia, this was the third time you could get it. So a good way of keeping their costs around. Here she is, look.
Yeah, I can talk, the hind legs off a donkey about the vintage stuff, but when it comes to the Black Series, I'm really limited. So I have 3 out of this entire segment to hold up. But I did get the Leia. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And actually, is that I think that's the Bespin Escape Leia, though, if I'm right. It's not the Hoth one, is it?
Yeah, no, it is the Hoth one. I bought the Hoth, the 40th anniversary ones, and I busted it open. So when you said that, what's the difference?
So the Bespin Escapes doesn't have the jacket on.
Oh, okay.
And slightly different. So it's as she escapes from Bespin. So there is a lot of people, including myself, not being able to see the picture probably, they get confused between the two, but they are different figures. But yeah, the Hoth Leia, I think it's the third time it's been released. I think it was in a normal range. It was also in a convention exclusive where it was her and Han in a corridor in a big box. So they're getting good value out of that figure. But again, it's the packaging. It's the packaging that everyone wants.
Yeah, it's the sizzle, not the sausage.
Absolutely. So then we move on to wave 2, and this is where life, I think, started getting a bit more interesting because they actually put 3 figures in that wave that hadn't previously been available in the Black Series. So you've got, we'll go with Lando and the TIE Fighter pilot that had been available. Good to see him there. Oh, Dave's gone. Then you've got Luke. Here he comes. You've got Luke in the Snowspeeder.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
This is if you're gonna like get any figures from this range, 2 of them are on this slide, and this is one of them. It's absolutely phenomenal. I'm a bit harsh about the Ice Planet game figure that was packed in, but this, on the other hand, is everything I ever wanted in Luke Skywalker in his Snowspeeder gear. It's beautiful. Absolutely love this guy.
Yeah. And of course, it was a bit of a teaser as to what's to come, but we'll talk about the vehicle later. You also had R2 in Dagobah, which obviously is a new figure because that was never a vintage, was it?
No. For back in the day, they did a product extension by introducing a sensor scope feature, which gave you a new product for selling more R2D2s.
Yeah. So, and this was a good choice. And I can see someone's, Alyssa said that she bought it. R2s are always a good figure for Hasbro to release because they sell. And by doing them a bit different, they help where people do the dioramas. So I was quite pleased. I thought it was a sensible business decision, but also good for the collectors as well. And then the one that for me is the most creative is the Hoth Rebel Soldier.
Hello.
There he is. There he is. Which has a different face.
Yes.
In his backpack.
So see if I can do this without killing it. So our admission time, I was not going to buy this figure until Martin convinced me. And I'm glad he did, because he said about this feature. So I don't know if we got any GI Joe fans tuned in, but this is very reminiscent of Zartan, who in his little backpack he would have this almost like face-off little clip-on thing that would slide under Zartan's hood and make him appear in disguise. And then you can do that the same here with the rebel figure. So here he is, if I get this right. Oh, here he is without a beard. And then this is where I need music on hold. I won't stick him back on. But if I do that, please don't be alarmed. He's not decapitated. But there he is with the bearded version. So you've got two versions of this figure, which you can, in fact, go further by using the little face scarf on each one as well. So you could, out of this one figure, have 4 variations, which, if you're into the troop building, is like a dream come true. And if you could take that whole kind of mechanism and apply that to Rebel fleet troopers, Endor troopers, you could then eternally swap out these things and then build up a whole army of like different face variations and stuff like that. I mean, wouldn't it be amazing, Martin, if they did this with the Bespin security guard?
Oh,
I mean, that would be me done. I could have a whole wing guard, just like I did in Lego. But no, for me, I wasn't actually fussed with this figure. Martin convinced me to buy it, and I'm glad he did, because it's worth every penny. It's brilliant.
Yeah. And it was good to see that they weren't just producing variants, because that's always been the bugbear in the past, is I have to buy 2 figures to get the variants. I've got to find them. Well, this one, you have to buy more than 1 figure if you want to army build, but you're getting all the bits. So I thought that was a really cool move.
Definitely.
Right. Shall I move on to Wave 3, Dave?
I reckon so.
So Wave 3 is just about hitting shops now. And again, there's some new figures in here, or there is a new figure. There's a Dagobah Luke, which you will see again later as we go through the presentation. But you've got a Dagobah Luke there, and you've got, I'd say this is all the big finish. You've got your Boba Fett.
Another Boba Fett.
Yeah, disappearing from shelves everywhere now. And you've got the famous Vader as well, another one that people collect. Vader's a weird one. The Vader collectors get it really quick, and then it doesn't seem to move after that. So it kind of has a peak of what it sells straight away. But the Boba Fett one is already hugely in demand, even though the figure has been released more times than I can remember.
Is that the most released figure?
It must be, because you've got it was the first one released as the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive with the Hanning Carbonite, which we'll talk about later. It's then been in archive. It's then been, where has it been? I don't know. It's
you name it. It's been
it's there. They're getting good value out of it, and yet it still flies off the shelves. Still the one that if you go somewhere and if people are only going to buy 1 figure and they see the wave, it's going to be Boba Fett first. You've got the Snow Trooper in there though. It's because he has a jetpack. There you go. Yeah.
That solves all our problems.
Yeah. What it does have, and I think this is what Carl's alluding to, in the Kenner version, which I won't go back on the presentation, they've actually changed the colour of the name tag for Boba Fett. And I think Hasbro said that's because that's what happened at the time. The first run had one colour and the second run had a different colour.
I did not know that.
There you go. So it's a subtle difference, but it's quite nice to see that. So there you go. That's the 5th wave. Fifth wave? The 3rd wave. But there's more, Dave.
Is there?
There is. There's a further 2 Bounty Hunters that have been released as a 2-pack exclusive to Amazon.
Wow.
And this is Forlom and Zuckus, Dave. Do you want to talk to us about them?
Well, clearly Forlom is the guy on the left and Zuckus is the guy on the right. Everyone knows that, don't they?
Absolutely. And I believe that's what it says on the figures as well.
Because that's what it is. There's no. How can there be any confusion over this? Surely.
Well, it's quite strange. I've seen a lot of Black Series where they say, ha ha ha, they got the names round the wrong way. So, as everyone I'm sure knows, this is how they were originally released by Kenner.
Yes,
but I think later on it became apparent that they were the wrong way round.
No, I don't think it was apparent at all. Because it's always meant to be Forlom and Zuckus. The story goes Forlom was an acronym for Love of Money, which is where the name came from, and was supposed to be the droid, and Zuckus being for the insect-looking bounty hunter, but Zuckus was an extension of Tuckus, because Tuckus at one point was in one of the early drafts of the scripts was a name for one of the characters. So these things always kind of like go round and round and round, and if you're kind of like doing these things and you're getting things before they've been released, sent to you, it's probably quite easy to kind of get a mix up. It's probably not the only one, but it's one of the only few that we know of that there was like a big mix up on in terms of names. I mean, where do you get Walrus Man from? I mean, let's think about that one, but there you go.
Very true, very true. But I thought it was quite nice that they released them the original way, and the back of the box it comes in does explain why the names are that way as well, which is quite good. Yeah, Green Greedo as well, Mooncat. You're right, Carl.
That's right, Green Greedo in the UK.
Yep. Right, but we're not finished yet, Dave, because there's yet more.
But I'm running out of money.
I know. Well, I'll tell you where we're at in a second. Now, I think if ever you wanted evidence that these toys are for collectors and for people of a certain age or as the target audience, I think this next figure is proof of that. Imagine if you were a small child, you woke up, you were given this amazing action figure of Han Solo in carbonite.
You bought me chocolate.
And just to really stress how versatile this figure is, I've shown it in both of its poses.
That is the thing, that if you got that as a kid, you would be like, take it back, swap it for another one.
At least with the vintage one, you had a Han Solo that you could take out of the carbonite.
Yeah, that is. Well, I mean, this is a family show. I can't say what, but like, surely that's not the same price, is it, Martin?
Well, funny you should say that. It was a bit cheaper. I think it was about £17 over here. I think about $17, but it was an Amazon exclusive. And the problem that some people have with Amazon is they don't give too much thought to the packaging if you buy just one. So if you buy two, you tend to be okay because you'll get them in a little box. But if you buy one, they tend to come in a jiffy bag, which doesn't do the card much good.
I think that's a sales tactic.
Well, on the secondary market, when this first came out, I know they were selling for about £70.
What?
Yep.
Ow!
So imagine if you bought this for your child as a Christmas present and paid £70 for it.
I mean, yeah, that's going to be painful. I mean, I get it, for the completists out there. It's the gap in the collection, but like, ooh, at least make it a good one. At least make it like worthwhile. Like you had the Luke X-Wing gear from Celebration, or like the R5D4, but like not a carbonite block.
Well, the other thing, of course, Dave, is this is effectively a repack as well, because this was the Han Solo in carbonite that came out as part of the very first Boba Fett San Diego Comic-Con exclusive.
Have you noticed?
So
just that's from Jabba's palace, isn't it?
Yes.
The image.
It is from Jabba's palace, the image, but the figure debuted, according to Hasbro, or not the figure,
Yeah.
should I say the character of Han Solo in Carbonite debuted in Empire, so they couldn't wait.
So is this much like the Fett being the sneak peek for the Empire Strikes Back figures? Is this actually a sneak peek of the Jedi figures? Because
there's a bit of me that hopes they have the guts to re-release it as a Return of the Jedi figure.
That'd be amazing. Just painted red, kind of like that, as if he's coming out like orange.
That's it.
Oranges and reds.
With a glowing effect, I think that then you can make it a premium figure.
Yeah.
So Dave, that's kind of from the carded figures front. You'll be excited to know we're at 26 products so far.
That's pretty good.
And you'd only pay about £450 to get all of them.
Sign me up for one to open and one to keep carded.
But don't panic, because I know you're worrying that there's not enough. I haven't spoken about the carbonized figures yet.
Aha. Yes.
So carbonized, I'm sure again people know about this, but this was a range that came out last year for the Triple Force Friday. And it's basically them taking classic figures and giving them a different paint and also actually a different base color to make them look metallic, and the boxes as well look quite metallic. This was really, we were lucky enough to be in New York talking to the Hasbro guys when this came out. This was really a bit of an experiment that they really liked. And it had a really weird first impression, because most of the collectors I know and on the forums were like going, this is just them reusing and what's the point? Don't like it. And then they bought them and people are like, I really like these figures. I just like them as figures, as collectibles. And now they've become really sought after.
So is it a bit like the Hot Wheels in the sense of that it's like a chase variation, that it could be the regular one, but every 1 in 10 is a carbonized version. So you got to go. Yeah, I mean, as for people who don't know, I run a toy shop, so I'm very entrenched in these things. But anything that gives a person a reason to get out and go to a store and do the hunt is a good thing. I mean, is it a little bit like that then, Martin?
It's not really. Sadly, it's they released them as a case of figures. Everyone's saying quite rightly that the carbonized Vader rocks and it's a beautiful figure. They are correct, and I think that's what the selling point is with this. But they have said in the past they're limited numbers, so it's not so much a chase figure. It's more a case of you get it and that's it. It's not going to come out again. I say that. I'm pretty sure they've done a rerun of The Mandalorian, because there's certainly second batches of them coming out. But because
they need to do it as a chase variant.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Get people to go out the stores.
Oh, goodness me. I can just imagine people's mind being blown trying to get that. So we had the Vader. The Vader doesn't really come across there in the pictures. It is a really beautiful figure out of the box. And it's got like a blue tinge to it. Which it really looks good. The second one was not Captain Phasma. It's the Captain Phasma friend Stormtrooper. Don't know about this one. This one didn't feel to me like they knew quite what to do.
Can you deduct this one off my total?
No, sadly, Dave, you've got to buy them all. It's got a lovely silver box, and James is there. Yes, they did do a rerun of the Mano. There you go. Yep. After they swore to us they weren't. But too many people wanted it.
That's because you swore back.
That's it, yeah. But I do remember, I have to say, I remember on Force Friday, when everyone didn't understand it, the only figures left on the shelf in the Target that we went to was the carbonized Mandalorian. Oh, the irony, if people had known then. And then the third one, this is going to shock you, Dave. It's carbonized Boba Fett.
My prayers have been answered. Finally, we're getting a Boba Fett.
Finally. And again, that's pretty widely available, that figure still. I think they've made plenty of them. But again, it is lovely looking. You can even see from the picture there. I think the picture does do this one justice. If you're into that, it just looks nice. and it's not pretending to be anything.
Yeah, and just if anybody is thinking that we it's kind of gone off on a tangent because we've always been looking at the packaging. This has got the actual 40th anniversary logo on the packaging, so not all Black Series figures have that, but if it's got that, we're considering this as part of celebrating the 40th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back for the purposes of this presentation.
Absolutely. Yeah, these are all 40th anniversary stickered figures. So you'll be pleased to know, Dave, that is the end of the figures, he says. Ish. So you're currently at 29, £480 or dollars in. James wants more. James gets more.
Look, wait, hang on. What is it?
It's Boba Fett. So now we're into the Black Series helmets. This one was a no-brainer. I'm actually kind of pleased they waited a while to do it. It is really good. It's got the visor that comes down and lights up, and you can just sit at home, working from home if that's what you do, with a Boba Fett helmet on.
That's ridiculous. Who would do that sort of thing, right?
So it is really cool, but well done for doing that. Like I said, I think it's probably one of the best helmets they've done, and they've done some good ones. The helmets are really good. But yeah, premium price and all that. I'm surprised it didn't have sounds. I think that's the only thing I'd say, because they had moved into the helmets having sound effects and things like that in there. But this one, they've obviously spent all the money on the design. And it does look really good.
No, it means that the sound effects version will be for the Jedi 40th anniversary.
Of course.
So
with the flying into the
never
barge.
say never.
So thank you for the tip, Alyssa.
Thank you, Alyssa.
Yeah. Right. So Dave, that's a Boba Fett thing. Surely we've run out of Boba Fett things.
Yeah, I mean, let's opening it up to the wealth of other Empire Strikes Back related characters. I'm thinking the next one could be like an Ugnaught mask, or maybe an Exegorth, slug Black Series helmet thing.
Well, good news.
Okay. OMG.
It's the prototype Boba Fett.
Oh, Christmas list.
So, funny enough, this is the same sculpt, except the dome's different. It hasn't got the dent in it. But yes, they have also, for those who remember, Boba Fett was around quite a while before Empire, really, in design terms. I think the prototype Boba Fett has become as famous as Boba Fett himself now amongst collectors. So they've not missed a trick. You've got the ability to sit there as a prototype at home whilst working from home now as well.
Well, I mean, that's Monday and Tuesday covered. And, let's face it, they'll probably reuse the product to get as much of an extension as possible. So I think we can get Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday covered in some, the Django Fett for a start. You can do a Django helmet. Let's not kid ourselves. You're going to see this in one form or another.
Absolutely, and with the Mandalorian as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it for the helmets, I believe. The Empire. Feel free to tell me if I'm wrong, if anyone's in the messages. But you love the Luke Snow Speeder pilot.
I do. Here he is.
So there is the Luke Snow Speeder that he sits in.
Wow.
Which comes with DAC.
Everyone loves a DAC.
Everyone loves a DAC. So this was the vehicle release of the year. It's really cool looking Black Series vehicle. It's one of the few ones I have on display outside, and when I come off the presentation, I can show people it here. It's a really cool looking thing. Bizarrely though, it doesn't have any electronics in it. And I still go back to my vintage Snow Speeder and loving the electronics that were in that.
I kind of disagree on that. For me, the Black Series market is a display. It's not like a toy. And I think this is a display object. If you were to pack in features like spring loaded or light and sound, it's only going to add to the price.
That's true.
And so I don't think if Hasbro were to give you that choice, I think the majority of people would say, yeah, he doesn't need it. You compromise on the detail. I mean, that thing looks like an ILM model, and it's a heck of a lot cheaper than what would have been at the prop store or London auction over the last sort of few days.
That's true. And I have to say, on display, if you put Luke in it with Dak in the back, you've got all the bits and bobs, it does look fantastic. It's the kind of thing you want out showing people, not in a box in your loft. That's why I explained to my family this is one that needs to be out on display.
Definitely.
Okay, so that's really cool, but we're not finished yet, Dave, but I will give you a running total update. We're at 32 now.
Wow.
And $780 pounds in.
I'm glad this anniversary only comes once every 40 years.
Yes, yeah. So, do you remember we saw Dagobah Luke earlier?
We did.
Well, here's the premium version, or the deluxe version, which is your Dagobah Luke with Yoda.
And is that the same Yoda that was on the retro, the 40th anniversary card?
No, it's a new sculpt one, I believe, which I think I haven't actually unboxed mine yet, but I believe it has a second head as well. It's a slightly different scale. Yes, James, they'll be doing just the 19 Ewoks. I hope they have interchangeable faces. But yeah, so this was, I'm not sure if it was an Amazon exclusive, but I think it might have been, could be wrong. It's a bit difficult because we have different things, we get different places.
I don't think it is.
No, you're right. Sorry, I apologize. But the really cool thing about this is the fact that they've actually designed it so you can pose him like that.
But it'll take you hours to get to that.
It takes you hours to get to that, and then you can play a fantastic game of not breathing.
You're more likely to be able to get through a whole deck of cards making a pyramid before you can balance that guy like that.
But I genuinely think that's quite a thoughtful thing. It feels like they've almost started with that pose and worked back.
Brilliant.
To see how they do that. But yeah, when it first came out, I saw lots of people on forums not believing that picture and then posting their own pictures going, actually, you can do it.
That is pretty cool. I mean, I like to do that first thing in the morning when I get out of bed.
Obviously.
And it's how I always start my day. But it's quite cool. And again, this kind of comes back to what I was talking about. These are display things, not necessarily the toy related things. So to kind of take consideration into trying to make up the scenes like that. Arguably it's that one, and like Yoda on his backpack, looking round. Those are the two that you're going to be wanting to do with this one, and maybe him to kind of keep my perspective, but where he's raising the X-wing out of the swamp. That looks really weird. My hand's massive. But those are the sort of scenes that you'd be doing with these figures. So once you get your Black Series X-wing, that is. Of course.
Which, surely that's only minutes away.
Yeah, coming to a HasLab near you.
I haven't unboxed mine yet, so I can't tell you about the hair because I can't remember. But I think it's plastic. Landing next week, literally landing next week, James. If it's a Black Series scale one. But again, Dave, we're not done yet. There's more.
Oh, wow.
In the deluxe range, your favorite,
Yay!
the probe droid.
I love me some probe droids.
With its fantastic Hoth style stand.
Yep.
And its bendy legs. Or it's articulated.
I was going to say those. Is it only at the actual joints that it's articulated, or are the pincers articulated as well?
I think I've got one behind me, but I daren't move things. I think they're static, or some are and some aren't. there's lots of little fiddly bits in it, which is kind of
Do
good.
the aerials go up?
I haven't tried. Probably. You're asking me questions now. Chill for a second while I go and get
I need
mine.
some probe answers.
Indeed. But I know you're a big fan of the probe droid, so
Yeah, the probe droid is awesome. It's such an iconic thing that is overshadowed by everything else that has been in Empire Strikes Back. You know, if you were to kind of like pick things that you know that you had linked to the film, you'd pick the AT-AT, you'd pick like Yoda. But the probe droid in its aesthetic look is very unique, and when you look at for its time of its like design development, and then how that's gone on to influence so many things, you know, with the multiple eyes at all different angles and stuff like that, it's absolutely fantastic. But I personally think it's always been neglected because it's just been in the shadow of all these other amazing things. Which is proof of how great Empire Strikes Back is. But it's great to see that the probe droid is now getting a lot of love.
Yeah. So I've got my probe droid. You'll be able to see it when I switch my screen back. But yes, the antennas do go up, Dave. And some of the legs articulate in the pincers.
Oh, fantastic.
In some shape or form. But controversially, although I've spoken about Hasbro, I do personally believe, as I flick forward, that the Disney Elite version is actually slightly better.
Same scale.
Yeah, mainly because it's made of metal.
Fantastic.
Which makes it feel a lot more substantial than the plastic Hasbro one.
Oh.
And as you can see, it's the painting on it seems a little bit more vivid.
Yeah. He's kind of got some weathering icicles, you know, some snow wear on there.
Yeah. So you go. That's the probe droid. I'm not making you buy the Disney one. So at the moment you're at 34 items, and I believe $850 dollars.
Wow.
I think it's about the same in dollars, Trevor, because we tend to spend the same in pounds as we do on dollars on these, just as a broad thing.
Yeah, how convenient.
Yeah. But there's one more that's just about to be released.
Wow. Now that is seriously cool.
So it's in the retro box. I believe it's a different sculpt to the previous one, or certainly a different paint to the previous one, but that was a bit dirty when it came in back series. But that's been released as I think it's a convention exclusive, but we don't quite know the details where yet. But yeah, James quite rightly says it's awesome packaging. That is all about the packaging for me, and quite rightly so.
It's kind of curious on the front of the box that you in the bottom left-hand corner you've got the picture of the Wampa. There that interrupts the racetrack when he's already on there. I don't know if that's to kind of product illustrate the fact that Luke and the Tauntaun's not included in this, but then I don't know. That's an odd bit of design, but it's looking cool. And the thing on the reverse, looking at the back of the box there, that very closely mimics sort of thing that you had on the original as well. So I like that. That's really cool.
Thought you would. So that puts us at 35 products, Dave.
There's no 40th anniversary logo on that though.
That's what I noticed, but I think this is very firmly in the 40th anniversary.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna, does that break the tradition? No, you're right. Yeah, it's all part of it, but very, very cool. And also that could be a preliminary image. It might not necessarily be the final thing. There's quite often like changes from a publicity still to the actual real on-the-shelf product.
There we go. Right, so that ends the Hasbro stuff that we've got. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, Dave. So if you want to fill for a second while I make sure I do that.
So people who've been watching, what's been your favorite product so far? Because we can see what your responses are. Oh my God, put it back. We got Trevor like the snow, lots of people liking the snow speeder. And the My Little Pony, yep. So snow speeder.
as I alluded to, is all sorts of awesome.
Look at that.
Particularly when you've got the figures in there.
That's amazing.
Isn't it just lovely stuff? The Black Series Attack. Yeah, that's what we want.
Yeah, Black Series Atta. I mean, that's going to be like the size of a Irish wolfhound, surely. It's going to be enormous.
Here we go.
But there is one more product, and we've got a few minutes on the 3 3/4 inch scale. There's the Bespin playset.
Oh, yes.
Which is, do you consider that as part of the 40th anniversary? I need to get my total up to 40 products, you see. So
I don't think it is. James is saying HasLab will be the ATAT. Blimey, can you imagine how much that would cost? I don't think it is part of the 40th. I had a quick look around, and the vintage collection doesn't seem to have done a 40th, probably because it's got so much product in there already. But you were telling me about the cover art of the carbon freezing chamber.
Yeah, so for anybody who's not familiar, I'll just say this quick because we're going to have to wrap up soon. Hasbro are doing a play set of the Bespin carbon freezing chamber, and it's like half the gantry. And the idea is you buy 2 to then clip them together, and you got the full Bespin freezing chamber. Now, that's not crazy because you've got the space considerations on your shelf, but also the original set was only half the thing built anyway. The way it was filmed, it was like 2 different ways. But on the box to promote this thing, you've got figures on there that haven't been available for years. You got the Bespin security guards. They were in the Legacy collection. That was like 2010. You got Lobot from the original trilogy collection. That was like 2004. And this is to like an Ugnaughts as well. And one of them was a Chase variant, and he was impossible to get hold of. So if you bought this now, you wouldn't necessarily be able to recreate that scene very easily, or at least like not at retail. But it comes with a Stormtrooper in the vintage collection style packaging, which is pretty cool. But I'm very conscious of time. I was just trying to think of getting myself to 40 products to celebrate the 40th anniversary. But genuinely, Hasbro have knocked it out of the park this year. It's been fantastic that they've actually really thought about this and not created just one product line, but several product lines. So you can either collect it all or collect the things that are of interest to you. Like I said, I never would have bought this guy had Martin not convinced me. And he is absolutely amazing. Look, there's the Probe Droid. I've got to get one of those.
Look, the antenna went up.
Wow, that's nice. But all in all, I hope you've enjoyed this panel. It is our sort of like overview of like what is available now. If you're into like Star Wars collecting, you have literally a million different things that you can buy, just related to Empire Strikes Back. But this is what's available to pick up now. Some of these things may have already kind of exited the retail side of things. We talked about the Black Series Boba Fett being the first one there. But for the majority of this, you should be able to like pick up now. So, we want collecting to be accessible. We want to support the new stuff, because if you don't support the new stuff, you won't get more stuff down the line. Hasbro done a great job, as have plenty of the other licenses. We briefly mentioned Lego there, and you've also got like Disney. But I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. And there's a whole heap of other stuff to come. A couple of you have donated.
Level Up Leroy's on tonight.
Oh, that alone is worth tipping. But like, this is all for raising money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So if you can, please, give generously where you can. The guys who've been putting this on have done an amazing effort. We thank you very much. I don't know how this works, if you've got to jump to the next panel or if it stays still or whatever. I'm just in a room full of My Little Ponies. What do I know what's going on? But thank you very much. I don't know how long we've got.
That's it. I think you're done, Dave.
We're done.
I think you're done.
Goodbye from me.
And thank you very much, everyone. Really appreciate it.
And apparently this will still keep recording, so I'm just going to pause.